So this is the continuation, the part 2. We have looked at planning, we have looked at organizing as part of the POLC, the planning, organizing, leadership and control framework. And we now want to look at leadership. Okay, so we've done planning and then organizing, leadership. Now, I know you all agree that we have a leadership problem as a continent. I hope we all agree, right? We have a leadership problem as a continent, right?
Absolutely, no.
And the leadership problem we have is not because we cannot lead, but it's because those who become situational leaders, I say situational leaders, they do not know that leadership itself is an art and science. And that leadership is something that people would have to be trained to become. There are theories that I've talked about those who are born leaders. There are other theories that I've talked about those who are also leaders that are made. So for instance, for everyone who wants to become the president of the United States, there are certain things that person has to go through regardless. All right, there are certain attributes, there are certain skill sets that you would need. So if you look at, I mean, over the years, maybe for the past century, I mean, US president, I remember Abraham Lincoln was not that handsome a person, but I mean, that guy was deep, he writes. John F. Kennedy, you can talk about our own Bill Clinton, that Bush Senior and then Bush Junior. These were people you will think that the leadership skill was not something that they possessed. Some of them had some of the traits, but they carefully prepared themselves for the task that was ahead of them. Okay, so as we are managers, and I can say most of the people who are leading us are, most of them are managers, and unfortunately, most of them are ineffective managers. And that's why we are having issues, because there's a distinction between a manager and a leader. Now, a leader in leadership simplistic term, if you talk about who a leader is, it is someone who can cause you or influence you to go to a place, a desired place that ordinarily you would not want to go. That's who a leader is. Someone who can cause or influence you and lead you to a place that ordinarily you would not want to go. In other words, the influencing factor is very key. And as you want to lead, you ask yourself, are you able to affect people? Are you able to affect the conscience of people? When you speak to people, do they accept you? That is leadership. So every manager who is successful means that that manager has the traits of leadership within that manager. And as a result, is able to build effective teams and is able to inspire the people. The inspiration that we need that comes from leadership is, in fact, it is what makes nations great nations. Okay? It is what makes them what? I mean, make those nations great nations. So, having done all the managerial part, there is that part that should inspire you've assigned tasks, you have done the planning, you have done the structures, you have assigned tasks. The next thing is, what triggers the people to achieve the objective? They need a direction, they need inspiration, someone who has to have to what, lead them. And that's where leadership comes to play. Okay. So we are saying that highly motivated staff are more productive than unmotivated staff. And the most motivation comes from that inspiration. It could not be money-wise motivation, something physical. But the leader knows how to acknowledge people when they do well. If I have there's one man who just joined us as our new pro-VCN. Come on, you could have your own issues with him, but when he sees you, what he would do, you'll be inspired. Okay? He will see you and say, the famous Boison, Charlie, how be? And tries to come down and relate to you. He makes you feel that you are part of him. He makes you feel that you are part of the system. And he introduces you as famous. Okay, there was one holiday I was not supposed to be at school, and I thought that I should relax. And then somebody called me and said, this man says we should come. You know why I had to go? One time I was in one of the rooms studying, and he came and said, boss, what are you doing? I said, I have internet issue. I had to come here. So, Charlie, some of these things you do, it inspires me. So I'm also looking for a place where you are. And I mean, jokingly, he was related, because it never happens that you have a pro-VC that relates to ordinary heads of departments, okay, like us. But he was doing that. He knows which buttons to press and excite the leader, and influence them, push them towards the objective of the organization. So you should understand that setting the goals and objectives and assigning roles to people, doing the designing aspects, okay, of the work, the organizing aspect, departmentalization, job design, and assigning roles and all that. Yes, you've done it. But there should be a trigger. There should be something that should spur the workers on. And that comes from what? Motivation. And the only person that can motivate you is somebody that can influence you. Okay, and that's where leadership comes in. Okay, and they have situated leadership as part of the principles in the framework because it is key. It said highly motivated staff are more productive and unproductive, more productive than unproductive employees. It said they are creative and passionate about their work and are aligned with company rules and show more loyalty to their organization. They show more loyalty because the leader makes the person think that he counts, he is part of them. There is one of the Fayol's 13, was it 14 principles of management, where there was one he said, esprit de corps, sense of belongingness. Okay, sense of belongingness. The person felt that, no, I'm being accepted because my views are in the plan. I can see that this guy acknowledges my presence. He recognizes what I do. And I believe in him. And because I believe in him, wherever he leads me to, I will go. Because he will lead me to the right, destination. So the problem is actually, some people have leadership traits, maybe born with it. They are able to cause a stir. They are able to move people along. But unfortunately, because they did not consolidate it with the right principles of leadership, unknowingly, they lead them to a destination that they were not supposed to lead the people, okay? So managers need to understand that motivation is key, whether intrinsic motivation or extrinsic, whether internal or external, all right? Whether you're giving the person maybe some plaque, whether it's physical motivation or money, or whether you are recognizing what the person is doing. It is key And the right selection of right members of team can as well build the great team and then motivate what the followers. So that is very, very important. Motivation, that's where the leadership thing comes in. So I ask yourself, you work with your organization, those who are at managerial positions, when you have been around for 20 years experience and all that, you have 60 members of staff who are with you. So my question is, how do you drive these people? Do they see that you are leading them? Do they have the trust in you? Have they reposed their trust in you? Have we gotten to that extent? That is very, very important. So teams are made up of individuals who should learn to work together as single and cohesive units. Okay. So as an effective leader, you are responsible to form the right teams and enhance their what? Effectiveness. That's what you need to do. You are selecting members randomly and haphazardly will not give you that result you need. And that could be chaos. Okay. An effective team shares certain characteristics, and managers need to be familiar with this. These characteristics in order to create a highly performing team. So we are saying a highly effective team has the following characteristics. Take note of this. This will appear in the exams. Take note of this. And the questions I'm going to give to you will be revolving around some of these things I'm drawing your attention to. It's a direction. Those characteristics that, highly effective teams should have. And that should be the role of the leader who creates those teams, not anyhow, and they are able to put people together in a manner that achieves what that leader wants to achieve. Direction is one. The goal, direction, and mission of the team are clear. You should ensure that they are clear, unambiguous. Expectation, team members understand what is expected of them, and they manage effectively other stakeholders' expectations. So sometimes we give roles, responsibilities to people, and they are not clear. They clash. They are not very clear. As well, they don't know what is expected of them. I don't know whether you've been in an organization where they've employed you and you wake up, you don't know what especially you are supposed to do. You go to your superior and the superior tells you that take this job and do. And the next day when you are done, he said, wait, there's no job. You don't know what to do. A leader should not face that situation. You need to look for qualified members. Team members are qualified to complete what? The assignment. And qualified means that the people you have chosen for the task have the requisite skill, competencies, have been trained to be able to execute that. I tell people, don't assign roles to people without giving them the requisite resources to be able to achieve that. That is a very wicked leader. Okay? And some managers give assignment and they say that when you ask them, so say, how do I accomplish it? They say, I don't care. Anyhow, you get it. Make sure you give me the result. You don't care? And that is supposed to be a radical leader. Excuse me to say, you are not. Assigning roles without resources, it doesn't make sense. And how do you expect the person to achieve that? How can you rate the performance of the person? And practical procedures. The procedures should be clear and relevant. Shared responsibility. The projects are the responsibility of the team. They should know. And clearly, each person should know what is expected of them. And clear accountability. Each team knows exactly who is accountable for the success or failure of the specific task or milestone, because each specific milestones, you have assigned specific people to do certain things. While many other teams might be responsible to work in a specific task, one only team member must be accountable for the success or failure of the specific those tasks. Okay. And we have strong internal relationships. Team members work together and respect the diversity of their team. And they abide by the codes of ethics and codes of conduct and ethics. I've facilitated a lot of seminars where when we start, it becomes clear that people say, let's start with a prayer. And the prayer comes with a Christian prayer. And then when we are going to end, then they say a Muslim prayer. Now I have a problem. I said, we have headness, we might have headness. We have a Buddhist amongst us. We might have those who are naturalists, those who are also traditionalists. So if you want to start with a prayer, let's complete the role. Other than that, let's start without a prayer. You can pray in your various rooms. I'm a Christian, but I don't need to inflict that religious thing on other people to force them to do the things they don't want to do. Do you get it? So don't start with a prayer at all. And that is respecting other religious, sects. Because if you do Muslim prayer and Christian prayer, you are even not recognizing that the other ones, they exist. And that is not fair. Because the way you see them, they are lost. They also see you that you are also lost. The belief and trust you have in your religion, they also have the same in their religion. And I've been preaching religious pluralism, that you accept, we respect people's beliefs as they are, okay? And because whatever you see, we've all taken the risk. Anything can happen. So strong external relations, team members work to educate employees outside their team and build constructive relationship with various external stakeholders. Now, this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There's 9 points that we have stated. We are saying that it relates to the fact that a highly effective team should possess these characteristics. Okay, and 9 of them, they should possess it. Okay, they have these characteristics. So effective teams have shared certain characteristics and managers need to be familiar with it. No, it's the same thing that has been repeated, sorry. So once the right team is formed, then managers can now motivate them using various methods of motivation. It will be internal. I talked about the intrinsic and the extrinsic motivation. And when we focus on external motivation, such as pay, recognition, fear, promotion, or reward, when we are focusing on that, then we are doing things that will the people, the workers will see, okay, something that is public. They get to see that, okay, this is what the organization is doing to recognizing us, okay? But if it is more of internal, then it's something that comes within. We say while external motivation can be useful, they are only effective if they mean something to their employees. Because some employees do not really need those things. Okay, there are others that believe that we should do something, even, for instance, making sure that they have all the tools in their environment to execute their tasks. It's a form of motivation. Okay, it's a form of motivation, making sure that they have all the resources to achieve and making that their job environment is that congenial, conducive for them to work. It's also another form of motivation. And we say that it is important that managers take time to understand, okay, the personal and internal motivation of individuals such as family, environment, and community, and trying to link personal goals with the work. Okay, try to do that. Just imagine someone comes to work, and sometimes I do that when I used to work as a corporate IT head. When they come to my office, if I see someone is down and I'm not seeing him well, the person comes and I say, Charlie, how? Say, fine, Charlie, today, dear, me then you go lunch. You say, really, boss? I say, yeah, me then you did lunch. You know what? We go sit for your car inside. We're going to sit in your car inside and going to drive. Said, okay, fine. And then time is up. I'm the one who calls the person and says that let's go to that food joint. Most of you know Agbamami. So I sit in his car. Then I said, let me drive. Let me drive you. He said, oh, go. I said, no, it doesn't matter. Let's forget about that. So then I picked the steer. And then We go, we eat. But whilst we are eating, I ask very personal question. How's the family? What is happening? Where do you live? Then now the employee begins to now bring out so many things. Where I am, I mean, I have issues with accommodation, my family, my wife, my mommy. There's this issue worrying me. And then you get to know, because you see, if that guy is one of your key guys that should deliver your vision, you need to come close. And then when we are coming back, now I have a record of what is really happening. So how can I help? How can I help the issue? Some of the staff were owing. They were owing. And the issue was really serious. And this guy I was talking to, when we're coming back, we passed the fuel station, and then I just, they were giving us our fuel card and all that. And I give him like some three gallons. The guy is fired up. We get to the office. Then he tells me that, you see the tax you gave to me, expect the result in a week time. And a week time, pam, then I get a result. Why? Because I drove his car. Why? Because I came to his level. Why? Because I recognized that he exists. Why? Because I was personal to him. I was able to share his, grief and his challenge. For the fact that I opted to assist, all right, that is even okay for that person. And that guy is fired up and he's working like something. And these are the same group who I camped for a week. We didn't sleep anywhere. We're in the business when our systems went down and I was called to assist. Then I was not in the IT department. I did that with all of them. And in a week, we had brought all the servers up. We have created our own we're not using the forefront anymore. We have created our own system that was able to link our public IP outside, incoming and outgoing mails. These were guys that they thought they could not do anything. And the job they did was the job that consultants do for almost $500,000 in a week. That same team they were able to do. I didn't do anything. What I do is I offered leadership. That was all I did. I didn't move a mouse. I didn't. So they said, okay, we have to install the exchange. Okay, go onto YouTube, type this, he types. Go to Microsoft site, we have the license, put the license, number in, download exchange, he downloads. You have the YouTube, he said yes. Let's also go to the manual with Microsoft, the other guy has. Okay, so let's start step-by-step installation. Then the guy says, do what? He said, click here. So click. What is YouTube saying? By the 1 hour time, the thing was installed. Just like that. Just like that. So it's important that we recognize that. Social relationship, social responsibility is also an example of connecting personal employees' beliefs and motivation to companies' procedure. This is huge. Connecting employees' beliefs and motivations to company procedures. Connecting that. That's very, very. So we have our SOP, standard operating procedures. How do we reorganize the personal employees' beliefs and their motivation to connect to that? Only successful companies are able to do that. So you see that there's no supervision with the work they are doing. The employee, this contemporary age, you don't have to employ supervisors to be watching what some people are doing. No. Those that we have employed are themselves self-supervising because they have targets to meet and they have to meet them. Okay. And in order for managers to motivate employees, they must motivate themselves. One, you are leading people and you need to motivate because you might not get anyone to motivate you. So you need to motivate yourself. Their work needs to reflect their internal motivation as well. And there's a quotation here. It says, teams are made up of individuals who should learn to work together as a single and a cohesive unit to share the same vision and have the complementary skills. Okay, So when it comes to motivational theories, there are many. There are many of them, such as the Adams equity theory and the Vroom's expectancy theory. Now, the Adams equity theory talks about equity. Equity means what? Fairness. And it says that it dictates that employees are not motivated to work if they believe they are putting more into the job than what they are getting out of it. Equity. If what they are putting in, they are seeing that it's more than what they are getting out, then that becomes an issue. All right. So the Adams equity theory and the Vroom expectancy theory is based on the fact that be fair with the employees. Give them what is due. All right. I hear somewhere, and there's labor unrest everywhere, as I indicated, because whilst fuel prices and everything are going up, the salary is not going up, and you are supposed to leave. And the same people say that there shouldn't be corruption in the system. What do you expect? What do you expect? It doesn't gel. You are just saying it's just lip service. People will be corrupt anyway because, I mean, the demand and the supply, I mean, there's disparity. So how are they going to survive? So typical employee output will require skill, time, commitment, trust, effort, and support. Common employee output looks at pay, benefit, advancement, and then security and recognition. There should be a balance. The equity theory said there should be a balance, okay? Because anytime employee thinks that he's putting in more than what he's getting, I mean, that is ground for what? Corruption, or that is grounds for making sure that they do something else other than what they are getting from the business, all right? Because if employee is paid well and think that he's able to save something minimal, it will be very difficult for that person to go the extra mile. I was sharing this thing on my status, and I was saying that a lot of pressure in the system now. If you look at it, young guys not being able, having BP at a very young age, between 25, I mean, having a whole lot of diseases, a lot of pressure on them. It all has to do with the fact that the system is not rewarding, and that people put in so much and they get less. I do contend that there are other people who do not work at all, but they want to make it. So there's too much pressure in the system, and if you are not very careful and you don't work according to your pace, then you end up, I mean, overworking and then leading to so many things. My brother, my junior brother, who I'm just a month old, that died how many years? I was then around 30. So I mean, it's about some 60 years ago, right? And Isaac was doing so much because he wanted to catch up, and inadvertently died, all right? And it was all stress, probably competition from other areas. So if you are working somewhere and you are not being paid well, and your contemporary is also working somewhere and that person is being paid well, and then anytime you guys go out, that person is a person who pays because you have nothing to show. I mean, it gives some sort, it places some sort of pressure on you, all right, to also do something. So Adam Smith Adams said that, hey, be fair with the workers. It said when employees see that the type of discrepancy that reacts in different way, they may become less productive, unruly, or leave the organization. Therefore, managers need to try to balance. That's what I talked about. What people put into the work and what they are getting out of it. And sometimes those of us who have started as entrepreneurs, we also end up creating that same problem. And ours is very different because we look at the profit margin and other things. You are working. Maybe you are getting out of $100 maybe dollars, you're getting $40 as profit without salary. Okay. And then a a very good manager or leader who wants the organization to progress, all right, having taken all the expenses and would prefer to give $30 to the employees and keep $10 as what? Retained profit. The other wicked one, the other one who thinks that the employees, they do not really matter, would rather give $10 to them and keep $30. And they forget that the employees are the priceless assets that they have, because the cost of recruitment, the cost of recruiting new and then training them, the kind of mistakes these people will commit before they get it right, they are all the incidental costs that come. And people don't realize that. They think that the skill sets are there, so if you leave, someone else will come, which is not the best. And we need to realign. So we are saying that Vroom's, there's another theory, that's the Vroom's expectancy theory, that provides a different perspective. It says that the theory looks at motivation through a system of reward. So that if you do well, you get reward. And that looks at, I mean, a very fair way of assessing it. Uses the concept of expectancy, instrumentalization, and valence. Please, these things will come. So take note of it. So expectation or expectancy is a relationship between effort and what? Performance. The effort you put in and the what? The performance. And for example, a sales associate might say, I will sell more if I work what? Overtime. If I do overtime, I'll sell more. So the relationship between the effort and expectancy and the performance is what, I mean, expectancy talks about. So if I put in more, it says that, okay, if I have more hours today, I'm going to do more. All right. Or if we have more staff, you're going to produce more. Effort and what? Performance. Then instrumentality is a relationship between performance and reward. This time, we are looking at performance and what? Reward. Okay. Performance. So from effort and performance, that expectancy, now to what? Performance and reward, instrumentality. Okay. So for example, a sales associate might say, if I sell more, I will earn a bonus. So that's what the Vroom's theory looks at. Valence has to do with, is that the value that people place on what? The reward. So is the reward something that is worth, I mean, working for? For example, a sales associate might say the overtime is worth the bonus. The overtime is worth the bonus, because the overtime is what is the reward, but it is worth what? The bonus. Okay, so if you give maybe some reward and the reward is worth nothing, then people will not be motivated. So understanding how employees interpret their duties and what truly motivates them will provide great insight to their managers to define the right motivational strategies to provide the right mix of the reward. And motivating employees to outperform requires leadership what? Qualities. And managers as leaders must provide answers to the difficult questions and create that culture of their team and excel, so that they can excel and what? Outperform. So take note of, they said motivating employees to outperform requires leadership what? Qualities. So if you're where you are, your people are not really performing, okay, maybe apart from these theories that we've talked about, the rooms, if you check all those ones, and I know in Ghana, no one is paid well, but of course, the pay and other things are part of the external and the extrinsic qualities, but the intrinsic ones, a manager or a leader, a good leader should be able to do something, from it. And look at this table. Now, this table talks about employee maturity and leadership style. Okay. And we are saying that if you look at M1, it said immature employees have neither the desire nor skill to work. M2, employees are unskilled but willing to what? Work. We are progressing. M3, skilled and willing workers, but they are not confident or consistent in their work. And the last one is mature employees are able to work independently. So graduating from what? The maturity. First one, immature employees have neither neither the desire or skill to work. Now, the 2 is employees are unskilled but willing to work. 3, skilled and willing employees or workers, but are not confident or consistent in their work. That's where you need a leadership quality. They have all it takes, but the confidence is not there. So, and confidence will bring another topic of what? Delegation, okay? Then we have the leadership style. To address the first one, telling. He said, inform people what their tasks are and how they are to be done. Inform them. That is the telling. And the second one, employees are skilled, unskilled, but willing to learn. He said, selling. Focus and sell them the task. 3, skilled and willing workers, but are not confident or consistent in their work. Said participating, that's S3, leadership style. Provide less direction and focus on relationship and shared what? Decision. And shared decision, okay? And then M4, mature employees are able to work independently. S4, it said delegated. Delegate authority and responsibility. So this is the Hesse et al. Situational leadership model. Okay, so there could be a question on this that might say that the following are the employee maturity, maybe employee maturity characteristics by Hesse and Blanchard, okay, except, and they might bring some of these things, you know, multiple choice questions. I mean, that's normally what, or they will ask you to fill the blank. So take note of this. Okay, so, and then we describe the telling, we describe the selling, the participating, what it means. You have the notes on the slide. I've deliberately indicated this for you to see. Okay, so the situational leadership model addresses 4 types of leadership style based on what the following. It said telling, selling, participating, and then delegating. So selling, telling, participating, and delegating. Now, if you look at where this thing is highlighted, you say the main goal of a situational leadership is to develop followers to the delegating level so they make their own decision. They make their own, decision. So this is the telling. We have the selling. We have what? The participating. You saw the brief, definition we gave, but I've put it here so that if you take the slides, you would understand. For telling, it said, is the C level of leadership style. Most new employees require direct instructions. You need to tell them what to do. And then the selling, it says selling leadership style addresses the follower who has developed some competence already with an improved commitment. And the follower is not convinced yet, but they're open to become cooperative and motivated. So the leader must still focus highly on the task and still require much of the leader to tie up in, but focus now also developing the relationship with the employee. So that is the selling. And the participation is that participation leadership style addresses the follower who is now competent at the job, but remains somewhat inconsistent and is not yet fully committed. Okay, so the follower may be uncooperative or performing very little despite their competence that they have. But they are saying that from that stage, then you come to this stage where the delegating leadership style, which becomes the ultimate, and people are empowered, they are inspired, and they make sure they are given the power to do things independently. But at that level, we are confident that they can do, even if they commit errors. I mean, it could be compensated for because we know the level of power we've delegated to such people. Said delegated leadership style is the ultimate goal. A follower who feel fully empowered and competent enough to take the ball and run with it with some sort of minimal supervision. So the follower is highly competent, highly committed, motivated, and empowered to do that. So this is the level, we naturally have to make sure we lead people to. So in leadership, see these people from this level of employee maturity, where we apply a particular leadership style, and then move them through these stages to the delegation stage, where they have been empowered to be able to do the things that you expect, of them, okay? So once that is done, the model talks about something that I'm going to talk briefly about so that we draw the curtains down. It says that strategic leadership are able to effectively prepare themselves and their teams for the future that they see. Strategic leaders are adaptable. They are thoughtful. They are empowering. They are intentional, and they are rewarding. If you don't remember anything about leadership, remember this. They are adaptable. They can change as things change. They can align as things disalign. They are thoughtful. Okay? They are thoughtful. They are empowering. They motivate people. Even when people have gotten to their limit, they tell them that they can do well. I recently did something. I was supposed to, in fact, I was asked to chair, a school's, as a chair, I be the guest speaker. And you know what I did? I told my firstborn, who was in who is in SS1, to write a speech. And if the invitation came 3 days ago and I was going to do it tomorrow, I normally don't prepare speeches. Rather, I'll go to the function and look at the environment and write my speech. So I do these things at last minute. So I can't do a speech without seeing the environment. So when I went there and I saw the environment and all that, but I had my daughter's speech and I promised her I was going to read. So I read it. And I made sure somebody took a video. And then when I came, I told her that, hey, I read your speech. I said, how? Well, Daddy, why did you do that? I said, no, I just wanted you to know. I read it, and these were, high-profile people. And I told them that this is my daughter's speech, and I want to read it. And when I was done, I also gave mine a stamp. Now, I believe that this inspired her. That, okay, so my speech was, and she was asking, what kind of people do we? I said, these were top-notch people, in society. There's a school that they pay about $1,000 for the crutch and all that. So highly, they said, wow, so you read it? Say yes. And then they liked it. I say yes. What am I doing? I'm inspiring her. And my boss did the same thing to me. My boss was supposed to deliver a speech somewhere, Hamburg Port. And he asked me to prepare a 15-minute slide presentation for him. When I gave the slides to him, do you know what he did? He just changed the first slide. He didn't even change it. He modified it, put the Ghana flag there because he was going to talk about Ghana. And then after he had delivered the speech, sent the slides to me and told me that this is what I delivered. And I delivered it as you had recorded. You recorded and showed it to me, so I delivered it. And it was just wonderful. In fact, my level of, the confidence went very high that a corporate IT head does presentation for a CEO, the number one person in our company, and he delivers it on the world stage. It means that I did something. That inspired me. That inspired me. That is what we need to do. We need to empower people, and we need to be intentional. I have said that growth is intentional. Growth is not accidental. That if you want to grow, those of you on this platform, whatever you are doing now is an incremental, you're adding knowledge to what you know. So this is intentional. Okay, you would not grow in knowledge by sitting down, not doing anything. These are intentional strategies you need to put together. Okay, I would want to be a research wizard. Okay, so what do? I read an article every day, and I've been doing this for the past 7 years. Article every day. I don't miss it. Okay, so it's interesting if somebody brings a topic in maybe a different, I do consultancy in a PhD. So they bring a topic on somewhere, physical science, and then Boison is there, and they are wondering, how did he know? Because I've done all this project. I've supervised all these people's projects, and I get myself subsumed in it. Currently, I'm doing money, something, I'm not an economist, on money laundering. All right, and it's interesting. Okay, it's interesting. They are talking about some theories that are very. This is the first time I'm seeing some of these theories. Okay, so that is an intentional strategy to get me there. A leader should be intentional. A leader should be intentional. And then also we talk about reward. Recognizing and rewarding talent is a motivational tool of strategic leaders. It didn't say just leaders, strategic leaders. Okay? The same staff you are paying very low salary because not something of your fault, but the system, the way it is, you cannot pay. There is this tool, that leadership tool you can use, that people will still work with that high motivation because they know that you would not forget them. They believe and they trust in you. The problem we've had in this country, that the citizenry has trusted our leaders, but leaders haven't delivered. We have reposed our trust in people, and we don't know who to even trust anymore. All right. So we say that the last role of a leader in the framework is to direct and execute plans. And in planning phase, managers have created strategic, tactical. They've done that, and now it is time to execute these plans with the teams. So as a manager, you might act as a supervisor at a point in time to direct teams into specific assignment or project. On the other engagement, you might assign supervisors who will be primarily focused on executing the plan you have developed as a manager. And it is important to emphasize that management and supervision are two different things, and supervision is a subset of management. Okay, so we are going to talk more about this in the next chapter, but let's look at these few things. Here are some few steps to enhance the effectiveness of your team, and focus on this. Communicate clearly. That is one. Choose members carefully. Lead by example. Lead by example. Don't tell people to do something that you are not ready to do. Okay? And then you should always evaluate. Evaluate effectiveness of teams and make any necessary adjustment if possible. Okay, so this is the end of the lesson. I want to take your feedback, but more importantly, we are left with one that has to do with the control, and then I think some sub ones, innovation and all that. We'll deal with it next week. But I see this section as very huge, and I wanted to take my time and then bring your companies, whatever the examples that the things you do in your workplace. I wanted to bring them in. I believe to a large extent, I've been able to do that. But if you have any questions, you can ask. And I want to thank you for your time. So let's have our questions, and then we can take it out from there. Thank you so much.